So Thermal Energy International, we're the profitable path to net zero. And we say that because, number one, we are profitable, and we've been profitable for the last 3 years in a row, despite growing revenue by some 40%. And we make our customers more profitable, reduce their energy use, reduce their carbon, and make them more profitable. So the traditional forward-looking statement caution. There we go. Okay, so what do we do? Thermal energy provides energy efficiency and carbon reduction solutions primarily to very large multinational customers. That's our focus, that's in our intentional focus. And at the end of the day, our reason for being is we save our customers money by reducing their fuel use, usually natural gas, and cutting their carbon emissions. But really, they do projects with us because they have a very good return. And the fact that they reduce carbon emissions, that's just an added bonus. In terms of investment highlights, first of all, energy efficiency is by far the fastest, quickest, cheapest, easiest way to reduce carbon emissions. We focus on an industry. In a building like this, or in a residential building, about 50% of the energy used is electricity. The other 50% is thermal, like a fuel that you're burning to create heat. But in an industrial sector, only 10% is electricity and 90% is thermal. So we're focused on that 90% of thermal energy. And so reducing thermal energy is what our customers need to do if they hope to reduce their energy use. We provide unique proprietary solutions with a high return on investment and short, compelling paybacks for our customers. So again, they invest in our project because they have a good return. We have significant repeat business from very large multinational customers, and we have a track record of profitable growth. Again, up 40%, more than 40% over the last 2 years, profitable every year for the last 3 years. And we've been doing this for a number of years, growing both through accretive acquisitions and organically. So I talked about this. 90% of industrial energy use is thermal, and as a whole, the industrial sector is only about 50% efficient. We believe with all the different technologies we have, we can get them to 90% efficient. So they could basically go from 50 to 90%, cut their carbon emissions almost in half just from energy efficiency alone. So that's why improving thermal energy efficiency for our customers is the only way they can reduce their carbon emissions. And they will tell us they've already done it for electricity. Electricity is much easier. You can buy green electricity right off the grid. For thermal, you can't do that. So I told you this already. Yeah, we can recover up to 80% of thermal energy for our customers with a high, compelling return on investment for them. We have now a suite of complementary technology. The company started out years ago with the Flu-Ace technology in the top left of that on the right-hand side of the page. And then we acquired GEM, and the GEM steam trap business was based in the UK. So then we had North America and UK. Then the heat sponge and rain bank were the next technologies. They had a US base of business. And then we acquired the intellectual property for those other ones. So we now have 8 to 10 complementary technologies with a base of operations, that's salespeople and engineers and admin people in Canada, the US, and Europe. And we sell these technologies one of two ways, either as a total turnkey project, where we develop the project, we engineer the project, and we sell it to them as a total complete package, where literally all they have to do is turn the key and start saving money, or just as a piece of equipment. So the equipment tends to be smaller, simpler projects where they can just install it themselves. The turnkey can incorporate any one of these or multiple technologies at once. Significant repeat business. I mentioned before, we focused on very large customers, industrial customers, and we do that for two reasons. Number one, we're looking for sites that use a lot of energy, because if there's a site that uses a lot of energy, if we can save them 10 or 20 or 30%, we can do a nice big project for them. And those large energy-intensive sites tend to be owned by large multinational companies. And the second reason is the large multinational companies have hundreds of sites around the world. So our goal is to establish that relationship, do a project at one site, and then do another site, and another site, and another site. So our top 10 customers, the majority of orders, it's probably around historically 60 to 70% of our revenue comes from the top 10. And so far, we've done projects or sold product into about 100 of these 10 customers' sites. In many cases, that's just a small project or a small product, so there's lots more that can be done at any of these sites. And initially you'd say, geez, if you sold 100 sites to your top 10, you might be almost done, but except those 10 customers have about 1,000 sites worldwide. So even among our top customers, our penetration is still probably less than 5% of the opportunity. This is our revenue. You can see steadily growing over the last few years, up 41% over the last 2 years. Record revenue again in the year ending. We have an odd year end, May 31st, so we just reported our year-end results last week. So record revenue up 41% over 2 years. You can see our profitability has dipped a little bit. That's because strategically, a couple of years ago, we made the strategic decision to invest for future growth, and there's a bunch of things we did. There was a new facility, there's a bunch of new staff. Those, so that increased our SG&A, reduced our profitability temporarily. Obviously, these are investments we're making for future growth, so we think that will come back. And the important thing is, even though our profitability, dropped, we were still profitable on a net income basis, and we are generating lots of cash. So even last year, our operating cash flow before temporary changes in working capital was about $1.7 million. And in fact, it was at about that level for the last 3 years in a row. And as a result, we did something that I am particularly proud of, and that's our debt. So back in, 3 years ago, we had about $4 million in debt. Big chunk of that was acquisition debt where we acquired a company, and there was also some COVID pandemic-related loans. We had $4 million in debt. We've reduced that basically to zero with our own cash flow. So since then, we've paid off almost $4 million in debt. The balance sheet is exceptionally strong right now. We've got $300,000 in debt left, which will be paid off by January, so in a few months' time, and we still have almost $3 million in cash and working capital. So we're in a very strong position to continue growing this business. And more recently, some people that, if you followed our story, you know that there can be a fair bit of lumpiness. We announced a few months ago a $5 million order. So when you're $30 million in revenue, you get a $5 million order. There can be lumpiness in our order intake. And for the last couple of quarters, up until very recently, our orders were trending down a little bit. But I can say now that after Q1, our Q1, again, which ended at the end of August, we had $11.3 million in orders. That wasn't just the largest Q1 ever. That was 3 times the average Q1 up to that point. It was 4 times the Q1 orders we had last year. So on a trailing 12-month basis, which I tend to focus a lot on because it smooths out the quarterly, our order intake is now at an all-time high on a trailing 12-month basis. And the $24.3 million in order backlog that we announced last week with our year-end results was the highest order backlog we'd ever reported. So we're in a pretty strong position right now. But not only that, we do a 5-year strategic plan every 3 years. It's sort of rolling, so we reviewed our strategic plan. It was that strategic plan 3 years ago where we decided to invest in staff and grow the business that way. Now we're thinking, okay, what can we do next? How can we scale the business? And so there's really 4 key things that we've decided to do going forward to drive increased sales growth and a margin improvement. The first is develop indirect sales channels. Pretty much most of what we do is always direct, but we see there's a real opportunity of indirect sales channels in both North America and Europe. We want to develop and promote standardized equipment so we can sell more smaller orders. Establish heat sponge manufacturing. So we manufacture right now our heat sponge in the US, which is great for the North American market. We want to establish manufacturing, probably outsourced manufacturing in Europe. And we want to leverage all that with our award-winning Crest mobile app, which we developed ourselves and just launched last year. So I'll tell you a little bit more about each of those. So we want to develop and cultivate networks of independent manufacturers reps. It's very common for manufacturers of industrial equipment to sell through manufacturers rep. We were the anomaly, is that we always sold direct. We want to continue selling direct to large corporate entities. But our sales team doesn't have the opportunity to go and do these regular repeat orders of small pieces of equipment. And so that's what we want to establish in both North America and Europe, a network of these independent reps that are on site all the time, identifying opportunities, maybe selling 1 or 2 steam traps here or there, that it just doesn't make sense for our team. So why do we want to do that? We think it's a real opportunity for more sales of smaller orders that isn't really economic for our sales team with less investment, because these reps all sell on a markup basis. So we sell the product to them, they on-sell it to their customer. And they're at their customer sites all the time. And again, that allows the internal sales team to focus even more on the larger, more strategic orders that we do so well. And as part of that, we have to develop more product for them to sell. So there's a lot of our technologies that are still bespoke, but we can standardize them for smaller applications on a skid mount that allows the manufacturer's reps to be able to sell these off a line card with very little engineering. So why do we want to do that? That's part of the strategy to increase sales through independent reps, reduces project development time, faster sales cycle, and again, opens up the small opportunities that we've been missing historically. And then the heat sponge into Europe, we want to add manufacturing. Initially, we will continue to manufacture some key components and ship it over, but eventually as the volume grows, we'll outsource that manufacturing and assembly. It's really just an assembly and welding shop that we need. That's an untapped market for us so far. It'll be shorter lead times and quicker turnaround times and more cost effective for us once we do that. That's again something we're planning to do over the next couple of years as part of our strategic plan. And all of this will be supported by our CREST, which stands for Carbon Reduction Efficiency and Scoping Tool. Basically what the CREST did is we started out with 1 or 2 technologies. We now have 8. It's hard enough, and these are very high technical sales, it's hard enough for the sales team to sell 1 technology, let alone 8. So the CREST really is a mobile app that all the sales team and engineers will have on site on a tablet that allows them it prompts them for questions to enter data when they're on site that identifies not just the particular opportunity they're there for scoping out, but other add-ons and additional cross-selling opportunities. So it'll reduce the time needed for internal sales as well as our reps. We have an app that will go out to all of these individual reps as well that will allow them quickly and efficiently to identify opportunities. We just launched that in the last 12 months. But I'm proud to say that mobile app won an award from the the UK Technology Awards last year, and it was for an app that results in a higher level of productivity, or overcomes a problem. So we're really thrilled to have won that award. We just rolled it out to our team less than a year ago, and so we haven't seen the benefit of that, but that will help both the team and the reps sell more and sell quicker. So a summary, revenue up 41% over 2 years, consistently profitable, consistent strong cash flow, strong balance sheet with no debt and strong cash balances, record order intake and backlog positions us in a strong position going forward, and we're beginning to execute our revised new strategic plan to develop indirect sales channels, increase sales of standardized equipment, expand BEI into Europe, and leverage our CREST. So we're pretty pleased about where we are. We think the strategic plan to add people is starting, 2 years ago is starting to bear fruit. And this new strategy we think will be, a couple of years will start to bear pretty significant fruit as well. In the meantime, we're going to continue growing the business the way we always have, continue to be profitable, continue to be cash flow positive, and, buy back some of our stock. We're quite active with a normal course issuer bid, so we just started that in June or July. And that's it, the profitable path to net zero.